And we are live. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Good job. You're right.
Yeah, good. You all right? Hello, everyone in the chat. Mr. Keith, Ian, Hansong Daniel. Matt is in the chat as well. The retired mechanic. Hello, everyone. So yeah, we are missing Louis at the moment. So Louis said he was maybe going to be a little bit late. He had some commitments today, but he might come on, and we might have other people coming on as well. Right. So I'd like to first of all thank you guys for being here, Mr. Darren.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Also, this is my second live stream. I want to thank the guys that was here before my first one. So Matt's here on the chat. Johnny and what's the other one? I forgot who. Leon. Leon was here. He's here again.
Yeah,
and Leon, thank you guys for coming on the last live stream as well. So let's start just talking about yourselves a little bit, about your experience in the trade, and about your channel. Who wants to start?
Crack on, Darren. Give you the pleasure.
Well volunteered. Yeah, so my name's Darren. I've got the channel Mechanic Mindset. Relatively new channel, so I've only been posting for about 3 months now. Bit of background from my automotive experience. So I started in the trade straight from school at 16, and was lucky enough to land an apprenticeship with BMW, main dealer. So I then stayed there for good 8 years, I think, going through all the levels and a few different job roles and things like that. Did a year in Dubai as well.
Oh, wow. I bet that 8 years was quite a good school for you at BMW, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was quite a big workshop as well. So,
being so young,
experience a lot of different people, and there's some guys that are still there now. 20 years on. Yeah, really great place, really great guys and stuff. So, yeah, that was really good. And then I suppose about 10 years after being on the tools, I got into training. So, started a job at the Volkswagen Group Academy. Some people might know that in Wimbush, Milton Keynes.
Right, yeah.
So a little bit of a career change, completely out of my depth for, standing in front of people. I couldn't have thought of anything worse to do. So yeah, that was really interesting to get into, really big kind of learning curve for me. Throwing yourself out in front of these people, and you know how it is. If you work with a brand for a long time, you get a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience on these cars, and then I'm standing there in front of them now, supposedly telling them how it's done. So big learning curve there. And I was there for about 5 years. So when I left there, I was looking after Audi technical training and their master technician program, getting involved in quite a few different things like new model courses and things like that. So it was really good.
I guess coming from 8 years of working with BMW and starting as an apprentice. Did you start as an apprentice?
Yeah. I left school 2 weeks and straight into the job.
Into it. And I guess after 8 years to be teaching, it must be quite scary and a very different experience, isn't it?
It was, yeah. But I suppose that's, if anyone kind of does look at getting into training, you've just got to think of the room as a group of friends, really, and stay relaxed and informal. And if you try and put an act on, you're going to start getting sweaty, and people are going to see straight through you. But it's all experience as well, isn't it?
Did you feel like you were quite natural teaching, or not? Because I don't know. I feel like some people have it, and some other people just I can't teach anyone.
Yeah,
that's how I feel.
It's patience and guiding people, I suppose, and trying to hold back from telling people how it's done, and rather more getting them to realise how to do something. Yeah, like more coaching rather than telling.
Coaching. That's probably the right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a different skill, and then writing the courses as well. So in my latest role with Jaguar Land Rover, we've gone up another level now. So it's writing the courses for the world, not just the UK.
Wow.
So
Wow.
not training technicians anymore, but training trainers. And that's
another level.
Yeah, because we're nightmares. We profess to know it all, and we want to know it all, and we'll question everything. And everyone, it's another level again. But that's really good, really rewarding job. And
I bet.
It's really good.
I mean, going through your channel, I've seen quite a few videos, and you definitely come across like you can cheat. You got the patience for it.
Yeah. Thanks. It's good that it shows. Yeah. So my channel, I suppose, I kind of start to get away from the technical stuff now in my role, and I've got a few friends with garages, so I go and help them out every now and then. Still get my hands dirty and stay in the game because I do really like it. So the channel gives me an opportunity to stay close to that kind of technical stuff and the teaching stuff, whereas don't get too much involved in that anymore.
Did you do that timing chain job on your Beamer or not? Was that you or somebody else?
Yeah. I do that. So my friend,
was that you?
He's got a BMW independent workshop. So he's on his own. So
you borrow his bay for a day.
He's got 3 ramps up there, so if he's got one free, he'll let me do it. But sometimes he calls me up as well. I've got a chiming chain here for you. Come down and get that sorted.
You helping him out?
Yeah. So he sorts me out, but I'll probably do it for free. I'm not offering everyone.
Well, it can definitely come around and do the jobs for me for free. There you go. So NAFs, you want to talk about a little bit how you got into the trade? I mean, NAFs it's a little bit of a different area altogether because you work with heavy vehicles, don't you, NAFs?
I do. I started large.
I was going to say, did you start with heavy vehicles from the start or no?
While I was at school, I was working for a Jaguar specialist on and off. And then when I left school, I went to work for them. Like an independent Jaguar specialist, but I was probably there 6 months or so. How can I explain it? They were quite a dishonest garage, and even at like 15, I knew that's not the type of route I wanted to go. I wanted, I'm an honest person, so I left there in the morning and started at another garage, not too far from that, where I completed my apprenticeship. I was there for maybe 5 years. I was an MOT tester, level 3 qualified, but the type of work they were doing wasn't what I wanted to be doing. I wanted to be doing electrics. And basically, if it wasn't a bulb, then they was buggered, they'd call someone in to do it. And that's not what I wanted to do. So I left there. And ever since then, that's probably 7-8 years ago, I've been working on heavy duty stuff where I've been fully qualified auto electrician on the heavy side now for several years. And it's got to a point where I do most of the week is at the garage that we own, but I get subletted to other garages to do their electric stuff on a regular basis. Maybe once or twice a day I have to go out to other garages to fix stuff they can't do, which to me is that's what I enjoy. I enjoy doing stuff that other people find difficult. Because to me, people say you can't see electricity, so how can you fix it? But that's so far from the truth. It's unbelievable. So that's what I enjoy doing. I enjoy fixing the stuff that other people struggle with.
And how long have you been working with HGVs?
About
8 years. And then you have your own garage now?
Yeah, my parents, my dad brought the garage that I worked for about 6-7 years. He brought it. So I've been working for him now for maybe 10 months.
That's pretty good.
So yeah, we're a diagnostic garage. We specialise in diagnostics. Everything from cars to your 44-ton HGVs, and even your Cat G stuff. So your Cat 3. So your really, really big heavy haulage stuff, like your 2,000 horsepower V10 engines, massive torque, full of bridge
Pretty
games
cool.
on. Yeah.
Just gonna say hello to people here in the chat. So Peekaboo is here. Thank you for being here, Peekaboo. Johnny's here. You all right, mate? Already thank you guys for being on live stream last week. Really appreciate it, mate. Mr. Leon's here. The Gib is here. Hello, Ian. So the Gib here, the Gib 3340. Ian, he lives in Canada. He suggested your channel probably about a month and a half ago. So that's how I came to find your channel, Darren. And then Benjamin. Hello, Benjamin. Yeah. So again, if any of you guys wants to come on a chat, I don't know if Keith's still here, Leon, Ian, John, if you want to come on a chat, Steve, SY Diagnostic, more than welcome to. So now, should we start with something that I've tried to create my own type of strategy depending on problems on cars, but every time I don't know, I find every time I try to follow like a procedure or a sequence or a first testing that I'm going to do with a vehicle, it's not like that straightforward, because every vehicle might have the same symptoms, but so like slightly different. When you start scanning the car and analyzing the complaint, it kind of let's say a misfiring, and this is I've got an example actually. I went to a seminar with Steve Scott about a year and a half ago at Mechanics, and he was talking about diagnostic procedures. And I thought it was interesting because what he said, any drivability problem or misfires, the first thing that he would do was relative compression tests, right? He would get a scope out and boom. And just to make it's a quick test that he can be done, and he can basically take it out the way any compression issues or any mechanical problem. And I thought that was interesting because, I don't think I would go that route. And that gave me food for thought, if you like, it's interesting to see how different people attack different problems differently. How would you attack a misfire problem? What would be your first testing? Would you, verify the complaint first properly and then scan the car? If you are, there's different scenarios as well. If you are familiar with the car or not, sometimes you have to familiarize with the system as well. That's another thing that I find. How would you attack a misfire problem, drivability problem?
Log on to YouTube.
Scott Kilmer. I would get some videos on Scott Kilmer.
Yeah.
It depends really. I suppose it depends what misfire, what else you've got on the misfire fault. And I suppose if we're talking, you've just got a generic kind of P300 misfire code, then I'd probably just start checking out the cylinder that that code was relating to. So checking that we've got the coils working, we've got injection in there, trying to work out if it's a spark misfire or a fuel misfire. And I suppose sometimes you can kind of tell if you've got a compression misfire. And again, if you're kind of working for one single brand, you generally start to pick up all those common faults that you get. So for example, at BMW, it was generally ignition coils. You got like an M54 engine in with a misfire. It's like, it's going to be a coil.
Yeah, I mean, working for BMW, if you just working with that brand, you pretty much know, like common problems with common engines that you have, isn't it? You're pretty much, I mean, he's out there. Hello, Mix. How's it going? All right. Nice to see you here, mate. Benjamin. I know quite a few BMW engines that are problematic. So yeah, if you're working, that's another thing. If you're working with the same car day in, day out, you're gonna know all the niggle bits and the problems, the issues that you have. But you
could get caught out with that, you know.
You can as well.
The amount of times that you just assume you think you know what the problem is because you work on them every day, and then you go and put a set of coils in it, and then Steve's advice might come in where it's actually is a compression issue or something, So,
no, that's true.
You just got to be very careful, and I think you've always got to be able to prove the fault before you go firing parts at it.
Yeah, never be.
Never be complaints.
Time you just think it's going to be coils, you stick a load of coils in it. It's going to be that one time that it's got nothing to do with coils whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think that's that's a benefit, or one of the benefits for technicians of being at dealers is you can throw those coils in and it gets absorbed by the business somehow, or it gets put through as warranty or whatever, or the business pay for it. But the independent guys, is really important. You get it right. Otherwise, could be you paying for the parts, or the customer's going to come in and oh really? It was the coils and the injectors. We know them people. Enough you were saying about the the dishonest garage that you worked for, and they stand out a mile. If you go there,
and that no longer exists because those garages don't stick around for long for obvious reasons. Word gets around, and that's it. You've got your diagnostic has to be spot on. We all make mistakes, no doubt about that. But mistakes through pure complacency is not something that I would accept personally as an excuse. That's not a good excuse. Well, it's usually this, it's usually that. That's not a good answer.
Yeah. I mean, I work with different brands and different models all the time, and my thought process, is always to try to familiarize with the problem. Obviously, make sure to verify the fault, verify the issue, the complaint. If I'm familiar with the car, generally Volkswagen Group and Vauxhalls, that's what I see generally. So it's easier for me that the system a little bit. Now, when I don't know the system, like the Mercedes cars that I have here recently, the last features that I put out, I knew very little about that system. Very complicated. I had to study a little bit, look into the diagrams, try to find some GSBs. And my thought procedure is, depending on the complaint, I'll try to familiarize with the system and then test components on that system, right? And it doesn't matter if I find things that are good, finding good things, good parts is a good thing because you eliminate areas that you
know what it's not.
Exactly. So every time you find something good, you're getting closer to the problem, So I don't find that frustrating, but at the same time can take a long time, which for me is not an issue. Generally, I have the car for whatever time I want, basically, to fix it. But for you guys in the workshop environment, as a business, as a dealer or independent shop, you want to get the cars in and out as quick as possible.
Yeah, I mean, from a HGV point of view.
Hello, Mark.
Sorry,
just say hello to Mark.
Off the road is, they would rather it cost 10 grand than have it off the road for a fortnight. That's pretty much how it is. If the wheels aren't turning, the vehicle's not earning, is essentially what happens. It can cost, if they have to hire the equivalent vehicle out, if their vehicle is a specialist vehicle for whatever reason, then it could cost them maybe £1,000-2,000 a day just to hire that same vehicle out. So they want that job turning around really, really fast. So doesn't mean they want to spend lots of money. It just means they want that diagnostic thing every time, and that can be, there's quite a lot of pressure under that. It's can be intimidating, especially if you've got a huge lorry in front of you. That, like I say, if we go for a misfire with a HGV, it's different because there is no ignition system on them as such, and it's all done through fueling. The timing, I've never had a timing issue on a lorry. There's no chains, there's no belts. They're done via cogs basically, and the cogs are probably, some of them could, if we can compare them to cars, the timing cogs on a lorry usually at the back of the engine instead of the front, and they are probably about the size of flywheels on cars. They are huge bits of equipment, full on hardened, reinforced metals. They don't break. I've never seen one break, but doesn't mean it doesn't happen. So your fault with a misfire 9 times out of 10 will be an injector fault. But again, complacency. You have to check. So the thing I'd do was I'd plug it in. If it's an MAN or a DAC, whatever it is, typically I'd pick up a dealer tool, plug that into it, see if it gives us an injector code. Hopefully it does. If it does, then I can get the equipment out, get the scope out, check the injector, check it next to a known good one. If it's not, then we have to start going down a fueling issue, because the pressures that run on these HGVs are massive. They won't start unless there's 500 bar pressure at least at the injector itself, not at the pump, but at the injector. The injector won't open unless there's 500 bar. But wide open throttle with a load, you could be talking 3,000 bar of pressure, which is enough to put your hand if you were.
Wow.
Yeah. The cars are getting close to that now. So I think the latest common rail is 2,500.
Absolutely.
Yeah, common rail diesels are, they're serious things, isn't they? Serious bit of kit. And those rail pressure faults, they can be pretty tricky to find sometimes, And
that is probably 80% of my work. A fault code will come in, and it will say somewhat obscure, like rail threshold or fuel lost by consumption. Now, if you get fuel lost by consumption, then that's, what does that mean? Lost by consumption? What do you mean? You're drinking it? What do you mean you're consuming it? Where's it going? It can be a difficult thing to tackle, and that is probably the fuel pressure fault is the most common thing I have to deal with on a daily basis, especially when you're talking that many bars of pressure. If you're 10% below what it's expecting, it's going to flag fault.
But there's so many components that could have an effect on that, that could cause that problem. So many parts in the system.
Yeah.
Boys, we have another guest here. Can you guess who it is? Can you see it? No.
Nope.
I'm gonna put him on.
Oh, it's the good-looking one back.
Leon, welcome to the live stream.
How you doing?
All right, mate.
To me, yeah.
Not bad. Good. Right. So I don't know if Mark's still here. Mark, are you still here? Do you want to come on live a little bit? I don't know if you got time. It was Mark again. He had a family commitment today. I don't know if that has finished, but if you want to come on, mate, just press on the link there. You can come on. Mark, he works a Ford dealer, and he's quite experienced guy. I think he works there for over, I might be mistaken, but I think it's something like 14 years or something like that. Is that right? I don't know if Leon knows.
It's something like that.
Yeah.
Leon, 14.
So he's been working there for a long time.
What did you say?
I said you can't count to 14.
True, very true.
Now, talking about the parts, there's something that I've read. I think it's James Gillan. I think they wrote, test the part before condemn it. So you're never gonna be swapping parts for maybe ripping off people or getting the diagnostic wrong, let's say, right? But in certain situations, I've been to situations where that was my only options, Do you have any story or anything to talk about that? You know.
Well, getting back to what you were saying before, just before I joined, about getting diagnosing the problem properly. I recently did a video on a DPF, and there was I read the live data first, and there was a few people that commented. One guy in particular, oh, I would have known straight away just from it reading that you should have changed that. Why did you bother testing all the other parts, going through everything? You're just charging the customer money. You're ripping him off. You're doing this, blah blah blah. So I pinned that comment to let other people kind of comment underneath it. And like they were saying, just because, and it turned out it was the sensor, but without diagnosing it properly, it could have been a resistance in the wire that was putting the sensor off. It could have been the plug. Just because the sensor's off doesn't mean it's the sensor. There's still, 3 or 4 other things it can be. And going through the proper diagnostics, well, not the proper one, but testing everything to make sure you've definitely got it right, especially on a very expensive sensor, it makes sense.
Do you have any story there that you can remember?
I suppose there's a couple I can remember that kind of got us you never really kind of get to the bottom of it. And it was a main dealer one quite a while back. It was a Mini, and what was happening is we were losing the body control module, and the reverse lights. I can't remember if they weren't working or they were staying on constantly. Anyway, it was a kind of typical input-output system where you've got the switch going into the module, and then the lights were controlled directly by the module with FETs. So, there wasn't any fuses on the line. It was probably pulse modulation or something like that. So this thing comes in, it's just say, for argument's sake, the reverse lights aren't working. You check the switch, okay, switch okay. You check the lines, they're all good. Put a body control module on it. It's sorted, brilliant. Then it goes out, and that feeling when the car comes rolling back in again, like a week later. You're like, why is that back? Same thing again. Reverse light's not working. So instead of sticking another body control module on it, is you've got the the luxury of contacting technical support there. So they couldn't even get their heads around this one either. They were going down the route of CAN bus, but the CAN bus was fine. So it just felt like they were kind of giving us things to keep us busy. Replace that CAN line from the node to the module, and all right, yeah, I'll do that. No, it's still the same. And but yeah, unfortunately, it had another module on it, and it was fine. You're just checking all of the no fault codes related, nothing like that. And I think that's the most difficult thing about this job is when there's really isn't anything there to kind of go on to help you.
It will happen. It will happen. I just remembered one. I had a Vauxhall Corsa D that I had. I think it was 2008, 1.3 diesel, the common rail one, and it had the usual water intrusion to the ECU. So open up the ECU. I bought another ECU, swapped the prom on it, closed it, put it back in the car. It still didn't start, right? I didn't have any faults at all that I had before. So all the faults were clear. So the ECU job was done. It worked, what was done to the ECU. And I had the boys around. I had Nafs and Louis around, actually. And we finally got the car started, right? Which I couldn't start. It was a crunk, no start, right? And what Nafs did, opened up the fuel line, and Louis was crunking it, pressing accelerator, and the car started, but it was misfiring, right? But before that, I was spending I think weeks the car was sat here because I didn't have no codes. Oh, we got another person. There he is, Mr. Lewis.
Better late than never.
Better late than never. Nice to see you here. Anyway, So anyway, I was telling this story about the course. So the boys came around.
Oh, don't do that.
So the car was here. I couldn't start it for weeks, right? Crank, no start, no faults whatsoever. And I was, blimey, what the hell is going on? I had the boys around. Navs opened up the pipe, the fuel lines, like I mentioned. Lewis was cranking, pressed the accelerator. The car started, but misfiring. So, blimey. Okay. So, and then I checked the car again, and I had a fault for an injector. Okay. But before you actually start the car, you would get no faults at all. So you had no lead, if you know what I mean, to go by. You know, it was basically one of the injectors that wasn't working, and those engines, they are super hard to start with only 3 injectors. Very, very hard. I couldn't get it started. I've tried so many times, run the battery down so many times, and I couldn't get it started. No fault code, no immobilizer issues, and it was one of the injectors. And you could actually unplug all the injectors. You get no faults, no DTCs at all, until the car started, which the boys managed to do it. I don't know exactly what happened there. I don't know if releasing some pressure from the rail made it easier to start, but that car is a nightmare to start on 3 cylinders. Nightmare. And I think Lewis after that had one of them, which I think 3 injectors was misfiring, wasn't it? Wasn't working, Lewis, isn't it?
Yeah,
you had the same car, the same engine.
Yeah, that never made into a video. He had a massive twist right at the end. So,
yeah, what happened in the end?
Well, I don't know. I don't know exactly what was done before, but it looked like the engine just locked itself. I don't know exactly what happened. Yeah. When I got all the injectors, etc., cranked it started the fire, and all of a sudden it just locked. And at that time, I thought it was the starter motor. I told the guy, "Look, take the car elsewhere to get the starter motor changed." He said he changed the starter motor, and the engine was completely locked. I don't know exactly what happened there. But that's the thing. I get these cars most of the times after God knows how many people has been around them. I don't know what was the background of the car, so don't know. But yeah, it was three injectors, definitely completely gone.
Is it just me that there's 4 people on here that know what they're doing, and there's one person that obviously hasn't figured out to turn their phone the other way so they get the full picture on the screen?
Is that annoying you?
It's not. Oh, look, there you go. Technology doesn't do anything for you, does it? The only problem is now I can see your ginger beard even more. I had an issue with a car a couple of weeks ago. It was a Golf, 2015 1.6 Golf, and the guy just brought it, and he bought it from a place that, you know, people, they just buy and sell cars. They buy them from the UK. They just kind of ship them out quickly. They're normally bought from an auction, so there's always normally issues with them. And when it was cold, it was missing like crazy. Absolutely horrible, missing like crazy. And I plugged it in, and I got a fault code, and it was a turbo pressure related fault code, which can cause a misfire. So I was going through all the things, testing everything, and as it turns out, and again, you can only really go off what the computer says sometimes. You know, if you got a misfire, you go what the computer says. The code kind of related to a misfire, so I was like, right, okay. And about an hour or 2 hours into it, I just decided to, because I wasn't getting anywhere, I was testing everything, and it was fine, and I thought, I'm just going to wipe this fault code. And it was an old fault code. It had absolutely nothing to do with the problem whatsoever. But it wasn't my fault. Someone else has been there before. The code did relate to a misfire, but nothing to do with the turbo. It was the injectors in the end. And that was a bit of a nightmare. So, yeah, just because you get a code sometimes, like Darren was saying, doesn't, you know, or when you don't get a code, because in this particular case, there was no fault with no fault code, but there was a code, nothing to do with the problem whatsoever. And that's where
diagnosis process comes, isn't it? And getting everything together, and then looking and saying, okay, well, these are related and these aren't. And but yeah, it's hard. You know,
It can be. It can
that's
be.
the only code, and it's
like putting a puzzle with no picture. That's how I describe it.
Say that again.
It's like putting a puzzle together with no picture of what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
That's where you've got to find all them little bits and pieces, put them together, and at the end of it, you get that picture yourself. And then from that, you take a decisive action on where to go next.
I find out with Louis' videos, some of the cars that Louis get is I think it would be impossible for me to get it back on the road. I remember one video of, do you remember this? I can't remember what car, Louis. You had a car brought in where they messed around with the wires, and one of the coils wire.
Toyota Yaris.
Is a Toyota Yaris, is it?
Yeah, it was.
Mate, I have no idea. I have no idea how you found that problem, and I still today I think, oh my goodness, if I had that car, I don't know what I would have done. You know, you found a wire that was connected wrong, and every time you put the key in the ignition, this wire that had nothing to do with the ignition would spark.
You would. Yeah, that was correct.
Remember that?
That wire was the wire that was supposed to go to the spark. So
right, that's right. Yeah,
was not spark. It was the control wire for the coil pack. So it was not sparking the coil pack. It was sending that spark elsewhere
to the wire.
God knows where. I don't even know where that was going. No, but yeah. Sometimes as well, and we I think that's been mentioned already. Is sometimes you need to sort of feel the problem. You need to be there. That's why sometimes when people ask you in forums and etc. Sometimes it's a matter of feeling the problem. You are there, you are trying to start, and there's something that clicks, and sometimes it could be something really silly that takes you to the right. Sometimes it's difficult without actually seeing the problem and be there. It's complicated, but
yeah, 100%. The questions you get on YouTube, sometimes they're great because some people say, I've got this car, it's got this engine, it's this year, this is the problem. But then some of the times and I've got loads of questions like, my car won't start, what is wrong? That's it. That's all I've got to work on. And it's impossible. And I did a series on can you fix it, just to see what other people's kind of approach is, and it was a misfire on a car. I wanted to see what other people kind of how they would approach it, and that was interesting too. But like you said, you have to kind of be there. You have to smell it. You have to touch it. You have to, it's so difficult with a message, and some of the messages on YouTube, if you haven't got them yet, you will get them. But when they say my car won't start, what is the problem?
Yeah, that's what Peekaboo put in on a comments there. Don't you just plug in the computer and it tells you what is wrong with the car?
How to trigger a technician.
Yeah. A lot of people think, you've got a scanner, you sorted. It tells you everything. It's not quite like that. I would be interesting to find out, like with Darren and Nafs, if you do have to follow, obviously, you don't do repairs anymore, Darren. But if you, when you worked at BMW, for example, did you have a sort of a procedure to follow by the company, or it was something that was created by the shop that you worked on? It was a natural thing.
They definitely do.
Yeah, so you mean like with the
on the paper, right?
Yeah, so most main dealers, or most brands, should I say, they for fault codes and you plug it in, and like Pico Boo said, for some faults you do plug it in and it does tell you what it is, because they have test plans that are built behind the fault codes, and they're generally linked to like high warranty hertz. So they know they've got an issue with, for example, ignition coils. So they won't let you go around the houses diagnosing it how you want to diagnose it, claiming all the time for the warranty, when BMW or whoever already have a good idea of what that fault is. So they will build a test plan. Check the voltage here. What did you get? Check it here. What did you get? Okay, now raise the revs to 2,500 revs. But those test plans are only as good as the person that wrote them. Yeah. So I remember while I was at Audi, there was a test plan for checking starter motor voltage drop, basically. And if you run that same test plan on an RS5, you have to take the engine out to get to the starter motor. But the test plan still kind of went down that route, and there was a smarter way to do it. You know, there was kind of a connector that you could get to. You know, it came from the battery from the back of the car, and you know, there was just a bolted connector you could have, you know, got to take the measurement. But that just goes to the kind of copy and paste people, and it happens at the highest levels. You know, I still get involved in some of those kind of test plans now.
But I guess being a big company, they have to do that because Oranges and stuff, they have to have those procedures in place for technicians to follow, isn't it?
Yeah, and they won't if they don't follow it. It's simple. They won't pay them. You know, so I had a problem before. You've probably all heard of the pressure sensor internal on the ABS pumps. It wasn't just BMW, I know Volkswagen had quite a few of them as well, and whatever. So anyway, this comes in. It comes in. You see the fault code. You know what it is. BMW know what it is. The customer probably already knows what it is. Yeah, but you've still got to follow the test plan. And on this one day, I did the test plan, but didn't click end. I didn't do that last bit. So I'd already done on all the diagnostics, and actually they kicked the claim out, and they took the money out of my bonus. It was like 1,500 quid.
Oh my goodness!
You know, you're just like, well, hang on. We fixed the car. We know that there are these issues. You can see on the paper I followed most of the test plan, and you know, customers happy. They went away. You know, did a good job, and you know, but that's how harsh it can get for dealer techs, and
that's terrible, man.
It's got harder since I left, I think. So,
well, see, for me, it's the only time I've ever seen a test plan is when I'm working at a dealership for that dealer. Now, I've never had to do it for a car dealership, but for HGV dealerships, they'll call me up on the phone and say, yeah, MAN and DAF are probably the worst for it. We've followed a test plan, and at the end of it, everything checks out, but we still don't have any communication to the ECU. We can't talk to the diagnostics. What's the problem? I don't know. So I'll go out and I'll read their test plan, and it's like, put black lead here, put red lead here. If resistance is below 0.5, that line is fine. And I'm reading it thinking, that's not good. And all the times that they've got to the end of the test plan and they think that bit of wiring section is fine because the resistance is low, to me that's rubbish. And every time I've load tested that wire, it can't light a bulb up. The resistance is fine, but the current can't flow through it. It's cut somewhere to this where there's like a tiny strand connected, so the resistance checks out fine because that one single wire is perfectly fine, but there's not enough of those wires to let the current flow. So because of their test plan, they've gone for that test plan 5 or 6 times, spent several hours on it. When if they'd have put a probe at one end and a bulb at the other, they know perfectly well that line is no good. So for a wire and a test light, they've had to call me out because, again, purely because of their test plan. Because they're not electricians, all they're doing is reading what the computer tells them to do. And to me, that's where the test can really hinder technicians. That's why I work hours as an independent garage. We do multiple brands, so a test plan just wouldn't come into it at all.
Yeah, Steve SY Diagnostic put a good comment there. Do you want to come on and say something, Steve? You're more than welcome to, mate. I put the link down on the comments there. If you press, you can come on.
I remember once I was doing work for a Toyota dealer, and I've I've only seen a picture of a multimeter, and it's showing you where to put the leads, and it shows you like a step by step. I've never seen, with the problems that I fixed into it, I've never seen them load testing anything. It's never to put a test light here, put a bulb there. I've never ever seen it. And I remember once a new technician was working on a car, and this actually happened. I should actually do a video about it, but I'm not allowed to film there, but I can talk about it. And the picture that they were using at the time was of, it looked like a green Bosch meter. You couldn't really see the words, but it was just like a generic picture. And the guy, and I said,
Haynes that would have done that.
Say that again.
Haynes, like the Haynes manual, the Haynes do like Haynes Pro Online. All of their stuff is ex-Bosch stuff, so it's green multimeters and things.
Yeah, but this guy said, and I have to laugh, but I mean he was new, so you can't really laugh too much. But he said, I said, so what have you done? And he was telling me, he said, but I didn't do this. I said, why didn't you do that? Oh, because I've got a different multimeter to what's shown.
Well,
so there you go.
Well,
he thought he thought you obviously had to. I don't know if someone told him.
Equipment.
He thought, yeah, you had to kind of do, you know, if they showed a picture, you would have to, whether, you know, and to be fair, like I said, he was new, so maybe he didn't know. Maybe he thought that was a special meter that the company had, and you had to test it with that. But yeah, so we didn't do that particular test, which was quite funny.
Yeah, that's when frame come in handy, you know. Go on, Lewis.
The thing is with all those dealer test plans, etc., as good as they are, they make the technicians to be lazy at the same time. I mean, and especially if it's like Darren's saying, if you come out of that sort of test plan, you can be punished for it. Is that's they're just going to follow whatever. They're not going to think for themselves. They don't think out of the box. And on these things, you need to think out of the box so many times. Sometimes you can't just. I don't. I mean, obviously, I have Heister, I have the Star that has all the test plans. Sometimes I follow it, but a lot of the times I just follow it to see what values I should get. It's not even to see what I need to measure. It's because it tells exact what value you should get between those 2 points. And that's a lot of the times why I follow the test plans. It's just to get all of those specific values you need to get to certain sensors or to certain test points, whatever. But yeah, I think the test plans are good, but it is a shame that they make the people just to follow that, and that's it.
Yeah, it's what Steve SY Diagnostic put it here. The dealer manufacturer process puts in place with test plans puts most technicians on a level playing field, which I guess is good because it gives you some. It puts you on a level, so I guess it's a good thing having those test plans. But they tend to take away the skill level of the technicians.
Yeah, but
you know,
as Steve says, SY Diagnostics.
It's not until the test plan is inconclusive that you can shine. You can show your knowledge and your skill.
But what
is an electrician? That's the thing. So you can be a day one technician, and you could be able to follow the test plan. Pin A1, pin A3 over here, blah 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 blah. It should be easy for you to follow. But if you're, you know, like Darren, myself, Lewis, obviously not Leon, but if you're an experienced electrician,
you guys love each other.
You can skip a load of that rubbish and just test the fundamentals. Have you got power at this module? Yes. Have you got an earth? No. Right. So what's the point in testing all the can lines? What's the point in doing this, that, and the other? You need an earth. Put an earth there. Does it work now? Yeah, great. But with those, like SY says, you've got to tick all those boxes first. If you're following it, if you all need to be in the same level field. If you're higher than the average achiever, I should say, in that field, then a lot of that stuff is nonsense, and it's not needed.
But what I've also noticed is a lot of garages, like you were saying, they just want cars in and out. It's money, cars in and out. If it says a misfire in cylinder 1, 80-90% of the time it's a coil pack in most cars. Let's be honest, you know, just replace it. And there's another main dealer I do work for, and they have a scope in there, but they don't use it. They only use it because they need it in there. So when someone comes around from Ford, they've got the equipment that Ford said they need. And what they do most of the time is just get parts. Now, this is obviously not a reflection on all garages, just this particular garage. They just get parts and just replace them because they know it's 90% of the time it's right. And when it comes to the other 10%, maybe the top guy in the garage kind of fixes it. But they're not allowed in certain garages, in busy garages, to spend the time to try and get better because their bosses are saying, no, just replace it. So they get into trouble. It's not so much their fault as well, but they can get into trouble for trying to go the extra step and to figure out exactly what's going on. Because you're taking too much, you should just replace the coil pack 10 minutes ago, but I want to exactly sit. No, just replace it. And it's the big bosses have normally got issues with it as well as the mechanics, but the mechanics always get blamed for it at the end of the day. It's always their fault.
Yeah, and there's it's massive. It goes really deep, all the way up to the top. And they put all these training curriculums in place for them. Generally, electrics is one of the first ones that a new technician would go on. Unless you've done similar stuff with other brands, and you can kind of usually skip stuff. But what happens is that guy goes back to work and he doesn't get given that stuff. And as all of you guys know, and and the people in the comments, if you're here watching this stuff, that you've got to do stuff to learn it. If these guys aren't doing it, they're not learning it. So yeah, it's not their fault really.
Throughout my life, I only learned stuff doing myself. You get the theory. You get the lessons, but until you get your hands dirty, it kind of, you memorize better. It gets engraved in your brain. When you had that experience once and twice.
Because that's the only way I learn. I can read a book 10 times, telling you something, and at the end of it, you can ask me what it was about, and Pocahontas, I don't know, I can't remember. Really, really bad. But if I do it myself, if I've got the scope in my hand, if I've got the multimeter, whatever, if I can test it, then if I do it myself, that will never leave my brain. Then 10 years time, I can plug into it and think, I remember something about this. Open the cover up, and it just clicks. It's there. But I can read it in times, and I'd never remember it. Never.
The question is, when you've got a misfire, why are you reading Pocahontas?
It's my favourite book.
So the only thing higher than doing it for learning is teaching someone how to do it. That's the next thing up for your own learning. The ultimate best way to learn is to teach someone else how to do it.
Yeah. If you was to work side by side with me, you would think I was going loopy because I'm constantly talking to myself. It's as if someone else is there and I'm telling them how to do the job. So I don't skip any steps. Because if I was just doing something that I do 100 times, well, yeah, it's usually this connector over there. Usually they get water in and there's corrosion, and then the whole lorry loses communication. But I'm always, come on, we got to do this first, and then we've got to check this. And it's like I'm talking to somebody, I'm teaching somebody else how to do it. And in that process, I don't forget those little steps that can be critical.
That's interesting. I like that, Max. It must be a nightmare to be next to you. So, did you talk to me, man? No, it's all right. Do you want a cup of tea or something? No, just talking to myself,
It's when he starts answering himself, that's when the issue really comes in.
That's when you get worried, isn't it?
I'm still losing an argument with myself, though, to be fair.
Black eye.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting to hear how everyone seems to be different in certain areas, isn't it? It's a way of doing things, and it's quite amazing to hear how the dealership works as well. It's I don't know. I think I had a different impression, but knowing. Being a technician, you just have to follow procedures and not have to follow procedures, but it's interesting to hear how you have to follow something, and if you don't do, you get in trouble rather than fix cars. Because in my head, the ultimate goal for me is test what I have to test, find the problem, find the bad part, replace it, get the back running again, and I'll get great pleasure from that. I have great pleasure in getting something broken, not working, and going back on the road. Excuse me. And it's interesting to me to hear that those guys in the dealership don't is out of their hands. I never thought about that.
I think in the most part that test plans, most of them will probably fix it most of the time, to be fair. But I think it's easy to get complacent when you're a dealer technician. You know, you've got all the tools, you've got all the diagnostics, you've got all the parts, all the money to pay for the parts, and you know, you go home at night and you probably sleep okay, because really it's not your problem, it's the retailer's problem, the dealership's problem. Whereas, you know, the independent guys, you know, this person's your personal customer. You know, you might not have the tools to fix it. So, you know, you might have to improvise, or you might have to do a bit of reading up to find out how something works. You know, if you're a dealer tech, you get the same cars coming in every day, you know all the systems, it all gets comfortable. Where, you know, you mentioned Mercedes earlier. If a Mercedes rolled into my kind of workshop, I'd probably get a little bit kind of, you know, I've worked on a few, and they're complete. You know, you find your comfort zone, don't you? You know, so you know, the BMWs and the VWs and the Audis are all similar, and you know, Mercedes are different. But you know, then you've got to step up, haven't you? And you've got to put the work in, but then you grow from that.
That was a great lesson for me. I had a few guys coming to me before, which, you know, I had the car here, you know, for a while, and it was a great teacher, that car, for me. You know, I don't know. Matt, you was going to say something, Luis, about Mercedes?
No, I was actually saying about when we're talking about the dealers, and they were saying about the money and et cetera, et cetera. But there is also what I think with the difference between a dealer and a garage is that if you take a car to a dealer and they throw a part at the end of a test plan, that doesn't fix the problem. We need the car for another week, and it's easier. It's probably easier for a dealer to kind of justify these parts and to justify this time. While if you are on a small garage that spends a little bit of hours trying to find out the problem, and if this garage puts a part that doesn't fix it, you doesn't know what you're doing. It's a little bit, you know what I mean? I think it's the reputation as well that makes these dealers to sort of follow this. Fix, doesn't fix, we need to leave another week. Then they'll throw another part at it, try to fix it. But it's the dealer at the end, isn't it? It's always is the dealer. It's not the indie in the corner that is trying to fix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People think, they make the car, so they should know how to fix it quicker than anybody else. The people in the work do not make the cars. They are not the technical engineers sat in the office somewhere in foreign lands. They're people trying to do a job at the end of the day. They might not. We do this for YouTube, but we must have a passion for it. When I come home, learn how to do stuff. If I struggled with a job during the day, I'm trying to figure out when I get home, next time I encounter that problem, how could I be better at, how could I get to that answer quicker? If some people, they don't have that passion. So if the test plan doesn't fix it, then they're buggered because they don't have the think outside the box insight into other ways of testing stuff. They've got one way to test components. And in reality, it doesn't matter if it's a 44-ton wagon or a Fiat Chico 20, whatever it is. They're all 5-volt sensors. They all work the same. Get a multi-meter test it. These things are not that difficult.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about sensors and signals. I think if someone comes up with a book or something just talking about signals and sensors, it would make the life of a lot of mechanics out there so much better. Because I think, well, at least the garage that I have around, I never seen a scope around any garage that I've seen it around me, and I go probably to about 4 regularly, and I never seen a scope at all, ever. And
one that I know local that has got, and that's mind-boggling. That is, you don't have to have a pico scope to fix it. You can have shitty 2-channel thing if it's going to show you the signal. If you ring them up and say, let's say, argument's sake, what I would call an MPROP valve, a fuel meter proportionate valve, or a substance control valve, I think they're called on cars. The throttle on a diesel. Most of them, they're just 2 wires and they're both PWM signals. If you ring up the garage and they're saying the car, the lorry, whatever, it's not. You put your foot on the throttle and nothing happens. Okay, go to the back of this valve. Does it have a signal going to it? Where do I test that? Put your scope on it. Does it go up? like a square wave. You know, it's not. It doesn't matter if nothing's happening at that particular time. Does it have the signal in the first place? Oh, I don't know how to find that out. Use your scope. What's a scope? And then from that instant, then you think, well, shit, how are you going to test that? You can test the resistance of the solenoid, but that's not always going to tell you the full story. It's going to tell you if the windings are open or not. It's not going to tell you if the ECU is sending a signal. It's not going to tell you if the throttle is sending a signal to the ECU and then onto the Emperor. I just don't understand. You don't need you can use a £30 oscilloscope for that, or multimeter on Hertz mode and see if something fluctuates. These things are not really difficult. You don't need a £1,000 picoscope. You've got a pulse width signal or not.
Darren,
it's like
Darren uses the 204, you know, the Series 2. Mate, £100. Awesome scope. There's no excuse not to spend £100, right? Seriously, it is.
It's got its limitations, and I suppose what you buy in with the Pico Automotive kit is, you know, you're getting much better hardware, you're getting 4 channels, you're getting the filter in, you're probably getting some accessories, and you're getting that, you know, if you're an independent, that massive library of reference waveforms, you know,
Is worth it.
and the support and everything. You know, it's quite good value for what you're getting, really. But yeah, if you know what you're looking at, then yeah, that little 2204A I use is amazing. You know, the Pico Scope 6 software is, you know, really good. It's got some great features in there, and yeah, but like you said, Nuffs, you don't have to spend a lot of money, do you, to get that kind of diagnostic power?
It also depends what you're used to. I know a guy who was a fully qualified mechanic and he worked in a main dealer. Then he came to work in an independent shop, and he never ever changed the bushing inside a wishbone. Didn't know how to do it because he always changed wishbones. Never changed the bushing, just a full wishbone. And he never did rear brake shoes because the cars I was working on all had calipers at the back. But technically, he was a fully qualified mechanic, but he never did them jobs, which some people would say, well, you don't know what you're doing. But it depends what you're used to, what you have, you know, what you've been used to, what you have, and what you have to do in the future.
I think for the first 10 years of my career, I probably only did 1 set of rear drums and maybe 2 timing belts, you know, because we're all chains and they're all calipers on the back.
That's what I'm saying. You know, you can be really good at knowing what you're doing. It's not. I'm not saying he didn't know what he was doing. But what I'm saying is, you know, like in a garage like mine, I have to change bushings because the customer won't always place a wishbone. But he's never done one, just because they were always replacing wishbones. You know, if a busher was gone, just replace a wishbone. That's it. You know, because that's what the dealer would do. And in some ways, let's be honest, it's normally cheaper replacing a wishbone because it's more expensive to buy the part, but it's a lot cheaper on labour. And when you weigh the 2 parts up, even though the wishbone would slightly always come out more expensive, but you're getting all the bushings new. Where if you're replacing a bushing, you've still got a couple of old ones in there that could potentially go in a few months. But to try and explain that to people too is also.
I mean, you fix everything, don't you? It's amazing what you can fix and what parts you can get hold of to repair components rather than just replacing the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, I did the automatic gearbox on the Ford Fusion. Ford wanted, was it $4,500 to fix it, and I replaced the bushing out of a wiper motor. Out of a heater motor. I put the new bushings in and I fixed it for like £1. And Ford wanted to replace the whole unit, the 2 actuators, the 2 motors, and the ECU. It was $4,500 on a £2,000 car.
Couple of weeks later, Leon, I had exactly the same on Fiesta, I think it was, and I didn't have the time to buy the brushes. So I actually wear down with sandpaper some bigger ones I had to shook them in there, and the car is still going. I see that car nearly every day.
I still had to grind them down a little bit because I couldn't get the exactly right ones. But and that car, I did that video. I don't know how long ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever, and it's still going perfect now. So it's amazing with a bit of research. Now, don't get me wrong, it took me a while to figure out which bushings to get at and measure them and go online and searching for them, but still save the customer an absolute fortune.
You'd never to do that in a dealership, would you? I can't imagine that would happen for 1 second.
No.
Right. I have this story, and if Darren worked at BMW, you're probably going to relate to this. When I had my old 5 Series back 7 years ago, 8 years ago, maybe more, it was a 2004, and you probably know these. All those E60s, they came ready to read MP3 on the CCC, but was disabled on the first models because they had an issue with the software. I think it was after 2006 that they resolved the issue, and they all came from factory with the MP3 already enabled. So I want to enable the MP3, but my car was still on the original software. So at the time I only had a Progman, which was a kind of a really bad software to program BMWs. So I never took the risk. So I took it to the dealer, and I've asked them, look, while you're doing that, because I actually had Progman all loaded, ready to program the car. And to enable the MP3, it was just a tick box that you had to do on the test plan to program, was tick a box to enable the MP3, and that would code the MP3.
It, yeah.
That's it. So I went there and I've asked him. I said, look, I want to flash the car, blah, blah, blah. So they told me how much it would be. And I said, look, could you just enable the MP3? And the guy at the balcony said, oh, no, we can't do that. And I said, why not? And said, no. Well, I think you need the whole new unit. I said, what? And he goes, oh, I'll just call a technician. So this guy came from inside the workshop. I explained the same thing to him. I said, no, you need the whole computer, the whole new computer. And from there, we just went into an argument because he was literally lying to my face. I knew what he had to do, and he was telling me I need a completely new unit. But you see, it's any other person probably with money would pay for another computer. Who knows?
Yeah.
You kind of lose the faith on the dealers when you see things like this. Because I think if they do this with a new unit that is probably $2,500, they would do that with anything if they really want, isn't it?
But they did it in the end, didn't they?
No, they didn't.
They didn't code it.
No, they flashed the car and that was it. Then using NCS Expert, I did it when I got the car back home. I never did it before because I knew the software was the old one, and I knew that could give me some issues. So I want to update the car first. So as soon as I got the car back home, I enabled straight away. But they never did it. They refused to do it.
I did the same thing with C4 Grand Picasso Citroen, and I took to the dealer to get it coded, the MP3 to be coded, and they did it. They didn't know at first. They said, "Oh no, we can't do this. We can't do that." I said, "I think you can, man. Do you want to try it?" Because I wasn't sure if they could, right? And what I was using the 6 CD player that you can get connection at the back, and I connected the cable there to get a jack, audio jack out. And I said, would you mind trying it? Because you might just need to click a few boxes there and you can get the MP3 to work. Because when you go through the options like radio, CD, auxiliary out, USB or whatever, and I didn't have the auxiliary out, which I was going to use as the multiplayer, the 6 CD player. And then he took it, phoned me about an hour and a half. He said, it's done. 45 quid. I said, mate, result. Because I didn't have the tool to do it. I didn't have, I don't know what you need. If you need clip or if you need the Renault Link, I don't know what you need.
So we're probably going to find like more and more features start coming in like that, and they're just switched on by coding. But it'll be harder. It'll be more like your phones and stuff, where you've got to pay like a subscription probably almost. And all these cars are they're online now.
Do you think it's going to happen?
Your own account and
well, that happens with Tesla, isn't it? Happens with Tesla.
That happens with you can't plug into it and get all the information from your vehicle, even though you own the lorry. It's all kept on a server. You have to pay a subscription to information that should be on your diagnostic machine for that particular lorry. It's not kept there. It's on the server.
Do you think that's right?
No, I don't. I think the main reason behind this is the dealers and the manufacturers try to get the repair service for themselves. They want to kill all these small garages around, and they will eventually. That's all they are trying. That's why in America is that big fight about the right to repair, and which I totally agreed. You buy something, it is yours. You can do whatever you want. You can set it on fire next day. You can set it on fire next day. It's yours. You paid for it. So if there is stuff in there that can be enabled, as far as it's not safety related, the owner should have access to it. That's the same if you buy a telly with 100 channels and they block 50 of them, and you can only access 50 channels. You know what I mean? It's a little bit like that. So
yeah, I suppose we're talking like, you know, when we get into ADAS and all the features that come with it, it's huge, and it certainly won't be like the hardware will already be there, and what you'll be paying for is the software to kind of activate that feature. And watch it; it'll be massive.
It's like Tesla. Tesla are the worst. You still can't buy an aftermarket scan tool for a Tesla. Only a certified dealer can. To try and buy parts, it's next to impossible. There's like a black market of Teslas online to buy parts for. That's why I've seen videos where someone's got a wing and a door that's dinted, and Tesla have written off the car because it takes them like a year to repair it. And then when people sell a wing, they can get thousands of dollars for a wing that's only worth, say, $100 because you can't physically buy them. So the aftermarket prices go up, and it's a nightmare. And at the end of the day, like you said, you own the car. Tesla are even doing stuff like the supercharging. People have paid, once a car is crashed, even a dent on it, Tesla will turn off, or they can turn off the supercharger, even with a very small dent. You can then pay up to 12 grand to get the supercharger to turn on, and Tesla, with the click of a button, can just take it away from you, and they don't have to explain why.
And I think even silly parts, they are like coded to the car, to the VIN numbers, etc. Like door handles and everything is coded to the actual vehicle. You can't just like move them around. I mean, there is ways of doing it, but theoretically you can't do it.
Yeah, the aftermarket side has really come on with Tesla, because they're just trying to stop everything, absolutely everything. You cannot touch a Tesla. And there's video cards that people have taken out of Teslas that they don't want you to know about, that they're recording when people walk past, and Tesla can turn the cameras on and off whenever they want on their cars, and they're recording.
Wow.
They're recording where you're going. They're recording all these things that they don't need to know, or they, you know, at the end of the day, if the person wants to drive somewhere, Tesla shouldn't be following them, and they are.
Yeah,
and you see,
I don't like that.
No. And then there's actually memory cards in Teslas that they can access, and you don't even know it's there. They can access and look at the video footage of the car, because most Teslas have cameras all over it. And but you can't access it in the car. You have to physically rip out the center unit and take it out to access it yourself. But Tesla can, and that's how they can do anything with. And it's a nightmare, because them cars are expensive and you can't fix them. You know, you can get a car that's perfect, but that's got a big dent along the side of it because someone's rubbed against it, say at 5 miles an hour. The car is still perfect, nothing wrong with it apart from a big, huge dent in it. But Tesla can just completely cut it down and shut it down.
SY, if you look in the comments, SYC Diagnostics, he's made a very good point of people activating things on their cars that maybe shouldn't have been there, what they hadn't paid for at the start, whether things coded, like you say, with your MP3s, etc., like that. And then when it comes in for a recall or for a service or whatever, and that particular company may update the software that's on your vehicle, because obviously a lot of modules have security, that come out with them to protect them from these, what they call like the remote start, from people accessing those from unauthorized access, things that they all have security updates. But then when they flash that file across, it then gets rid of whatever you've already done. That can happen even with rematch. If you have a form rematch, an economical rematch to a car, and it goes into a main dealer to have some work done. If they flash that module, then it's very unlikely they're going to know that ECU has been flashed for whatever purpose that you wanted it for, and therefore it automatically takes it back to standard. Especially, I've had it a lot with people who have deleted DPFs out of not the DPF out of it, deleted it through the ECU, and then when it goes into Ford for its service and they've updated it, they have then wiped that DPF delete. And I've had several transits that have caught fire after that, because the ECU is then sending too much down into the exhaust, and there's no way for that heat to dissipate because the DPF's not there anymore. And that's not the dealer's fault, technically.
And what you can also do.
How are they supposed to know that you have technically done something illegal, even though that vehicle belongs to you?
That's what it comes down to, legal and compliance. So you could make a change on that vehicle. It's no longer compliant in that market, and insurance companies could be within their rights to kind of, you know.
Oh, yeah, no, these two transits that I personally know of, that customer lost those vehicles were written off, and the insurance wouldn't pay out to it because those customers went back to the dealership and said, "What did you do?" Said, "Oh, we flashed it. That's part of our terms and conditions when we sold this vehicle. It's in for us. It's in for a search. We have done a security update on it, but then you got rid of my BPF delete. Well, you didn't tell us you had a BPF delete on it, so therefore the insurance then know that the software was messed with illegally, and they don't get a payout for it, and they've lost the price of that vehicle and the tool."
But that still doesn't. I know what you're saying, and I agree with certain parts of that. But still, the right to repair your vehicle, especially like Tesla, for example, because they are without doubt the worst. It's slightly different. Making modifications, at the end of the day, you're not allowed to do anything. Even if you change your wheels on your car, your insurance company can still say, "No, these aren't standard. We're not covering it." It's just a simple thing of wheels. But I'm talking about like when you. Like Tesla, for example, that they don't allow any scan tools whatsoever. You can't buy them. You can't physically buy them. You can't buy the parts to repair them yourself. Even something as simple as, let's get a wing. Let's say a wing's got a big hole in it and you have to repair it. Taking a wing off and putting it back on isn't modifying the car. It's the same wing that's going on. And you have to paint it or whatever. You can't even do that in the Tesla. You can't do anything.
That's interesting because most manufacturers work to block exemption. Have you heard of that? So no. they have to make it fair, like you say, like a fair level field. So, for example, on the BMW, you can get the AOS. You heard of AOS? You can get hold of. You can buy all the equipment. It might be a few grand, and you've got to pay the subscription to access it. AOS is like the access to the BMW dealer software, and all the service book is online anymore. You don't just stamp it. You've got to
it goes into the system, and their system.
Yeah. So and they have to do that to allow all the independent guys to do it. So it'd be interesting that Tesla hasn't.
Well, but that's the thing. They're fighting it, and they are supposed to be doing it, but they're not, and they're still getting away with it. There is people out there that have had just a little ding in a car park, and let's say it's just dinted a wing. Tesla have had their car for over a year to replace one wing on it, and when it comes back out, they've turned the supercharging off. Now, at the end of the day, if you're buying a Tesla, it's the supercharging that makes a Tesla kind of worth its money, because it can charge very quickly and still go for 300 miles. And you then have to recertify the car up to, like I said, 12 grand. And then Tesla can even turn it back off even after that. And that's part of it. How many years have people been repairing cars, especially like bodywork, and there's never been an issue? Cars aren't crashing because someone's put a wing on your car. You're not dying because someone's put a wing on your car. You can go to anybody, even the guy down the road that's 15 years old, never done brakes before, but he said he can do brakes. You can then crash because he's done your brakes wrong. So but Tesla won't. Well, people do fix Teslas, but they're not allowing anything in the aftermarket to come out. So the right to repair is, I think, slightly different to modifying your car in that sense. But you still should be able to repair it. Turning stuff on and on your car, that's a grey area, because it depends on your insurance company. It depends on a lot of stuff. But physically fixing it, buying parts. Buying just like body parts or engine parts or motor parts, that should easily be available.
Yeah, but
right, guys, I'm gonna.
But we'll.
I'm gonna say something.
When we talk about modify land, we can be talking modify, for example, like I don't know, automatic folding mirrors. It doesn't come from factory. You go there, they will charge you £100 an hour's labor to enable that function. Come on.
Yeah, accessories. Yeah.
You should be allowed to do that sort of stuff. Some cars you can even do through the menu on the.
What you usually find, Louis, is that when the customer buys the car new, they should sit down with a salesperson and they tick all the things that they want, and they don't. So it just goes out like bog standard, and the customer sees someone else's car doing that. Yeah, and they go into service, and the service is like, well, yeah, we'll do it for you, but we'll charge you half an hour labour.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not.
Let me go through the chat here because I neglected the chat today. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get better at this live stream, so apologies. But I'm gonna put the I even forgot that I could put comments on the screen here, which I think is really cool. But Steve put comments there. I have had experience of people with VACON and ForceCon, etc., activating items that are then wiped out with a software update or reconfiguration during a recall. So that's interesting. So that job that I did with the C4, if my car, the Citroen C4 Grand Picasso, went back in for an update, I would probably lost my MP3 coding that I did previously because the car didn't have that.
I don't know about which car was that, Igor? It was a Citroen.
That
right?
was a C4 Grand Picasso. Yeah, Citroen. Yeah.
Citroen. I'm not sure. I don't think Citroen does have that. Other brands, they are a little bit more smart in that field. I mean, BMW.
Yeah.
I've done loads of retrofits on my Beamer, and a lot of them I had to go through the VO because I know for a fact that if he goes to the dealer and he's now on the VO, all those will go away. So at least if he's on the VO, it
gets wiped out.
Yeah. So if when the software loads the VO, we'll know exactly which models are fitted on the car, but the coding itself might disappear if it's not part of the VO. Not all the little coding code is part of the VO. Some stuff is, some stuff is not. So some of the stuff might still be wiped out. I mean, I've did recently where when you press the heated seats, the menu will come up on the high drive. I don't think that's part of the VO. So there's nothing I can do on the car to tell the car that's a feature. So anytime they will recode the car, that feature will go. But
and again,
some of the brands is like you said, everything is part of the VIN number. Whatever the service tells the VIN number had on that car is what's going to be coded on that car. So yeah, you might lose that again if it goes through a different dealer.
And that's it. Steve put another comment there, which is basically what Darren said. It's not the dealer's fault. Why should the dealer activate something that the car didn't come originally with, unless it's an accessory? Which I agree. An accessory, like you mentioned about the mirror, a radio, I think is fine. When you come like to range performance or safety features, maybe, yeah. Maybe.
Safety features, I totally agree.
But safety features, like you said, you could go down the road and some guy in a house can say he can do your brakes. Let's face it, what's the two most important things on your car? Tires and brakes. Forget about your engine performance. If you don't have good tires and brakes, then you're going to be in trouble. And anybody can fit tires and brakes. You don't need any certification. You don't need any special thing. You can go to anybody, and if they say they can do it, they can do it. And that's the most safety thing on a car. But no one stops you doing that. But yeah, if you want to plug a computer in and start turning stuff off, they're going to, or turning stuff on, they're going to, oh, well, no, we can't do that. That's why I'm saying it's very hypocritical, both sides of it. And I see both sides of it. But yeah, money. But what I'm saying is, people, they say you can't turn on this specific feature because either it didn't come standard in the car or it's a safety issue. Let's say you want to put another 50 horsepower in your car. Yeah, you could crash. But I mean, at the end of the day, the brakes are more important, and if you're going to put 50 more horsepower in your car and you're going to crash, well, that's just natural selection at the end of the day. You're going to die anyway. I mean, it's simple though, isn't it? But the brakes and your tires, they're most important, but no one ever says anything about them. No one ever, doesn't question that. But they question doing something else. Exactly. But to turn stuff on, like I said, natural selection weeds out a lot of fucking idiots in the world.
Well, let me go to another comment here.
Don't you agree, Igor?
No, I agree. I'm trying to pay attention. Do you know what was in my mind, right? I've seen Lewis, for example, and I've done it myself when I replaced ECU, which I had to go through coding. Does the car have this? Does it have air conditioning? Does it have that? I've done that plenty of times. So, do you know what I mean? I don't know what the car had before. I had to replace the ECU, and I have to tell what is here and what is not. And sometimes I don't know if it was there before. I can see an AC pump here, so I'm gonna activate that. Does it have all stop and start? Yeah, I can see stop and start there. It happens. So
well, that's your problem. Then you should disable all them, let them come back and charge them more money, like they do.
And charge them double. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Ever since you replaced my ECU.
Yeah. So, I think for me, it's normal procedure. When it comes to accessories, that's my opinion. Accessories and maybe perks, let's say, things that, like the MP3 player is comfort, isn't it? A seat that, I don't know, can be programmed for different memories and stuff like that. If you have the seats, there's no problem there. But I think it's getting out the discussion.
The thing is, like I said, though, I can't really. I'm sure it's the same in the UK, but it's definitely in Ireland. You are not allowed, as an insurance point of view, to make any modifications in your vehicle. If your car comes standard with steel wheels, you put alloys, even if they're the same size, same everything, they're alloys. They didn't come standard with the vehicle, and the insurance company could say no. Well, for example, the offset was different on them wheels. That's why you crashed. Nothing to do with the offset of the wheels. It's just that the person crashed anyway. But the insurance company can get out of paying. And I know for a fact what they're doing now, even in Ireland, and Ireland's normally behind the UK in this sort of stuff. But when people are crashing, they are plugging cars in now to see where the seatbelt's on. How many people are in the car? Did everyone have the seatbelt on? Has the car been chipped? They are testing these things. And if they find anything that you didn't tell your insurance company about. Now, if you told your insurance company, my car was chipped, and you're paying extra for it, well, then you're okay. But anything you have modified, the insurance company could say, no, right, there you go. Especially if someone has died. If someone has died, they'll really look into it. And there's a machine now, which is awesome. It's in the UK. I don't think it's in Ireland. And I've seen it in a documentary. It's unbelievable. It was showing you there's a car at a T-junction, and he pulled out, and a car smacked the back of it. And it was a setup to show you how good this machine was. And what they wanted to do is to see if the guy that pulled out, did he see the car, or was this car speeding and going too fast? And they've got this special machine that they find a fragment of your brake light, and they can put this machine on, and they can tell you if your brake light was pressed at the time. There's special residue that's left. So in other words, the guy pulled out, he braked, and he saw the car, and then he smashed into him. Or did he just pull out, didn't see the car? Because if he braked, he was like, oh shit, I seen the car, then it's his fault. If he pulled out and then the car hit him, it could mean that the car was speeding. So it can go both ways. But just with this little fragment of a brake light bulb, they can tell you if your brake was on, and it's brilliant. And they can then say, well, kind of say whose fault it was. But the technology that they're getting, even to look at accidents now, is amazing.
Regarding insurance and modification here in UK, it's probably the same. I would have thought, but I can guarantee if you have an accident, again, nobody comes to see your car.
Oh, I'm only talking about
unless if you have a death, if you have death, maybe, but I don't think most insurance companies that they are interested. I see most insurance companies just washing their hands and there's the money and off you go.
But you see, I deal with insurance companies because I fix crash cars, and I've had the insurance companies out loads of times looking at the car's crash to see if they're worth fixing. Or what they'll do is I'll give a quote on the car, and the assessor comes out to make sure what I have said about the car is true. It doesn't happen all the time, maybe only 1 in 6 or 7 times. But I deal with the insurance companies on a regular basis, maybe 3 or 4, well, maybe 5 or 6 times a year. So I do see that they do come out even in Ireland. But it's more so the newer cars. If you've got I know someone that got a brand new car within 2 weeks. He crashed it, he rolled it, and there was a 6-month investigation because they thought he was trying to screw the insurance company. 6 months before they actually released the money. But that was on like a 50 grand car. But they definitely do come out.
We don't just for a precise reason. You can say that. Going to take us 8 hours to do this, and they can come and say, nah, we'll give you 4 hours pay for it. It's like, no, I've just told you it can take us 8 hours. No, you can do it for 8 hours, but we're going to pay you 4 hours. That's typically what happened to us. We simply do not touch the insurance job. They will pay for the job in full, except the VAT. We won't pay the VAT, and then that leaves us with 20% that we have to then pay. To us, it's just not worth it at all touch insurance jobs.
Right, so we got another. Let me go through the chat here. Ian, he asked a question. What are you guys watching on YouTube at the moment?
I'm watching myself.
You're watching yourself now.
Yeah.
Are you going through your videos? I was going to say I'm watching Ian Gibson, but he hasn't put any video out. Now I'm watching a lot of YouTube recently, actually.
Car stuff or
whatever you're watching at the moment. If you have a different interest,
Isn't that a bit dodgy? Asking a load of guys what they're watching on the internet.
on YouTube, he says.
Oh, YouTube.
Yeah.
To be fair, a lot of stuff I watch is about older electronic stuff, like old oscilloscopes, old test equipment. I've got one on the bench at the minute. I don't know what I think it's late 1940s, late 1950s, an oscilloscope CRT with valves in it. Now that's something.
Yeah, shows that. I've seen it. Me, Louis, and Naps, we met up last weekend. I actually brought one of those oscilloscope Naps.
So my
Last
granddad
weekend.
used to have a mobile home tuning place, like a van,
right.
and you opened up
Yeah.
the back of this. I think it was like an old Toyota van, you know, the ones with the engine in the middle. And that sun scope used to just take up the whole thing, and you know, but I don't know how many leaves are on it, but you know, I just remember being a kid, like, what is all that? And then just like a little green line.
What the heck is that?
But isn't it amazing? Them big sun machines now, you can buy them for a couple of £100. If you was to drag one of them out to a car and put it on someone's car, people think, oh, wow, look at that. That thing must cost millions. Look what he's doing. But you can bring out a 10 grand scan tool that looks this big and it looks terrible compared to it. What are you going to do with that?
No, you just plug it in, it will tell you how to fix it.
It's amazing when you look at the old stuff.
Yeah,
Right,
how to test stuff that I have no idea. I don't know how to test valves. It's something that I've never. You don't come across many valves on a 20-plate HGV. They doesn't work. But it's all interesting. It all in a roundabout way. It all comes back to what I do on a day-to-day basis. If you can test capacitors, even old ones, and you're looking at a new solid-state capacitor, an SMD component. Essentially, you test them the same way. Nothing really has changed in those 60 years. Things have got smaller, a lot smaller, and a lot safer. You know, you don't have valves that heat up to stupid degrees, and transformers have gone from dinner plates down to tiny stuff. But to me, it's all interesting.
If you want to test your TRT screen, just plug it in, earth one of your fingers, and put your there's a rubber cap. Lift up the rubber cap and put your other finger in there at the same time. If you get fired across the room, you know it's working.
I was going to say to stick his tongue in it.
It's only like 30,000 volts. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Right, so another comment here. This is a reply to you, Nafs. Naf says GPF was a classic example. When I was at a VAG dealer, the emissions updates often used to reactivate overwritten GPF and EGR software. Then the issues begins. So I guess in that case, it would reset the values to incorrectly.
If you go on YouTube, mate, those comments are quite old with loads of bit of in between that, mate.
All right, okay.
20.
Let's see the ones that I can remember. Okay, so this one is, so I say we go back to walking, a lot less complicated. So that's when we were talking about insurance, I guess. Hi guys, can you get anywhere? Hi guys, good show. Can I guess your ages? You can guess our ages if you want, mate. Samuel, Steve. Hi guys, good show. Can I guess your age? You can. I'm about 25.
Two already lost their hair. One is halfway through.
I'm halfway through, mate. I'm halfway through. You've been lucky there, you know, in the old upstairs.
That's because he hasn't had a haircut.
That's true as well.
It's all a comb over. It's a comb over.
Gotta have a haircut for ages. All right, so I've been watching some Louis Element Auto Repair's channel. I'm getting interested in electronics. There you go, Louis. Peekaboo, peekaboo. Do you want to say something, Louis?
No,
Everyone was trying to get in, and now all of a sudden it's just dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's basically what you're gonna find with Louis' channel. A lot of electronic is quite cool.
If my videos get anyone to get interested and to fix their own stuff, that's all it is about.
Yeah. Well, put it that way, very rarely you're gonna get a break job. Very rarely. He doesn't bother showing those. He's very into electronics and stuff.
Yeah, I have a few coming. I think I do, but
yeah, but it's not very often, is it? It's basically electronic issue stuff.
Yeah,
electrical stuff. Anyways, it's 1 hour and 37.
Lewis.
Pardon?
Or 20 minutes if you're Lewis.
All right. Well, he's been here for quite a while now. I think he joined like half an hour late.
He was watching his YouTube videos.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, yeah, I mean, also the subject we spoke in the beginning, diagnostic procedures. I can't remember the name now. Strategies. My strategy, I'm just gonna give you here in the end. My strategy is always to verify the fault, get familiar with the circuit, and test components. That's what I do. And yeah, I would like just to finish there. If you guys want to say something,
that takes too long. Just replace all the parts till you get it right.
Right. Okay. That's the.
What I do is I plug it in and it tells me what's wrong with it, and then I fix it.
Exactly. It shows exactly what you need to do.
And if it doesn't fix it, all you need technically is a bigger hammer.
No,
a bigger hammer, right?
Even simpler than that. A bit of black tape, cover the engine light, sorted.
That's the one.
Anyway, guys, I'd like to thank you all for being here. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure, mate. I hope we have some more live stream soon. And if you guys want us to do one as well, more than welcome. I'm planning to do at least once every month or month and a half. I'll probably get one live stream done. If you guys interested to do it, it would be awesome.
I'm busy. I'm busy.
And very soon, are you? You already you don't know what day you're already busy.
Anyway,
washing my hair.
You wash your hair. I was actually messaging Mark yesterday, and he was talking about maybe organize a meetup. So I'm gonna try to do something so we can meet up somewhere. Whoever's interested to meet up somewhere, have a few beers. We'll see.
As far as there's no Ireland, I'm okay.
Yeah, I think that's what.
we get Leon to fly over.
Yeah, nah.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
So, anyway, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure.
I will only go to people that I like, and I can't see anyone here yet.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Sorry that I need to pay more attention in the chat later.
Just one thing. Does your camera do this?
Oh God! How old is?
Oh, he's gone.
Right.
Right. Cheers, guys. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.